The graduation invitation trembled in my hand as my father's words crashed over me like ice water. "Take the bus to your graduation," Dad said without looking up from his phone. "We need to take your brother car shopping that morning. He's had his eye on the new Tesla." The kitchen's gleaming marble countertops suddenly felt cold against my palm as I steadied myself. My throat tightened, making it hard to swallow. 4 years of maintaining a perfect GPA at Stanford Business School while secretly building a tech empire, and this was their response to my graduation? "It's my graduation, Dad," I said, each word measured and quiet. "From Stanford, with honors." Mom fluttered around our luxury kitchen, arranging flowers in a vase, anything to avoid my eyes. "Natalie, honey," she sighed, using the name I'd heard in that exact disappointed tone my entire life. "You know how important this is for Benjamin. He just made junior partner at his law firm. He needs to make the right impression." Right impression. The words echoed in my mind like a slap. The carefully crafted invitation, the one I'd personally selected to appeal to my status-conscious parents, slipped from my fingers onto the counter. "My name is Natalie. I'm 24 and a secret tech CEO. This is the story of how I turned invisibility into my greatest power." For as long as I could remember, Benjamin had been their golden child. My brother, with his law degree and designer suits, was their pride and joy, while I was the disappointment who'd turned down a stable law career to study business and technology. They'd never bothered to ask what I actually did with my time, never questioned how I paid for my apartment in Palo Alto or funded my little tech projects, as they called them. The kitchen suddenly felt smaller, the walls closing in with every shallow breath I took. Dad's attention remained fixed on his phone, probably texting Benjamin about what color Tesla would best complement his law firm's parking lot. "The bus route goes right to campus," Dad added, finally glancing up with that dismissive look I knew too well. "Besides, it's not like you have anyone special coming to watch. No boyfriend, no big career plans." If only they knew. The irony burned in my chest as I thought about the notifications currently lighting up my silenced phone. Updates from my executive team, messages from my board about our latest acquisition, alerts about my crypto holdings that had jumped another billion after my latest blockchain platform went viral in Asia. "Fine," I said, turning to leave. "Enjoy the Tesla showroom." Back in my apartment, I closed the door and finally let the mask fall. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone, which immediately lit up with a notification. "Miss Walker, the board meeting for Walker Tech is scheduled for tomorrow at 9 a.m. Also, Forbes wants to confirm the photo shoot for their 30 Under 30 cover." I smiled tightly, remembering Dad's comment about no career plans. If he'd ever bothered to look beyond his precious Benjamin, he might have noticed that his 24-year-old daughter had built a $13.8 billion tech empire right under his nose. I'd started with a revolutionary algorithm I developed during my freshman year, and with Grammy's initial investment of her retirement savings, sworn to secrecy after I showed her the technology's potential, I'd launched my first company at 20. The next morning, I woke to news alerts about Walker Tech's latest innovation, a revolutionary quantum computing breakthrough that had our stocks soaring. My phone lit up with a text from Benjamin. "Hey, sis, getting my new Tesla today. Dad's going all out. Model S Plaid. Maybe you can get a ride sometime." I glanced out my window at my garage where my limited edition Bugatti sat next to my own Tesla, one I'd bought directly from Elon Musk during a private meeting last month. But of course, my family didn't know about that either. I'd always been careful to drive my modest Honda when visiting them, part of maintaining the persona they expected. 3 days before graduation, Mom called. "Honey, about graduation." Her voice had that familiar, apologetic tone that always preceded disappointment. "We might be a little late. Benjamin's Tesla needs some custom modifications, and the appointment is that morning." My knuckles whitened around the phone. "Don't worry about it," I cut her off, my voice steady despite the familiar ache in my chest. "I'm sure the bus will get me there on time." What they didn't know was that I'd arranged something special for graduation day, something that would finally force them to see me, really see me, for the first time. I'd been working with Stanford's dean for weeks after he discovered my identity when a board member mentioned my substantial donation to the university. The morning of graduation, I dressed carefully in a custom Chanel suit under my graduation robe. My phone buzzed with congratulations from tech CEOs and world leaders, people who actually knew who I was. As I prepared to leave, my assistant called. "Miss Walker, everything is set for today. The dean has the announcement ready, and the Wall Street Journal is running the story right after the ceremony." "Perfect," I smiled, grabbing my keys to the Bugatti, not the bus. "And you've arranged for the cars to be waiting after the ceremony?" My assistant confirmed that my driver would bring both luxury cars to the campus after I texted the signal. Time to show my family exactly what their disappointment had been up to. I arrived at Stanford's campus early, watching as families streamed in. Right on schedule, I saw my parents and Benjamin pull up in his new Tesla, all of them looking proud and polished. They didn't even notice me walking past them toward the graduates' gathering area. The ceremony began, and I sat quietly, waiting for the moment I'd planned. The dean approached the podium, clearing his throat for what would be the most important announcement of the day. My phone buzzed one last time, a text from Benjamin. "Nice of you to actually show up. Too bad you had to take the bus." I smiled, tucking my phone away. In about 10 minutes, that Tesla wouldn't seem quite so impressive anymore. The graduation ceremony proceeded with its usual pomp and circumstance. From my seat, I could see my family in the audience. Dad checking his phone, Mom admiring Benjamin's new Tesla key fob, and Benjamin himself taking selfies with his car visible in the background. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. "Before we begin conferring degrees," the dean announced, his voice carrying across the packed auditorium, "we have a special recognition to make. Stanford Business School has a long history of exceptional graduates, but today we celebrate someone truly extraordinary." I felt my heart racing as he continued, my pulse pounding in my ears so loudly I almost missed his next words. "Among us sits the youngest self-made billionaire in tech history. At just 24, she has revolutionized quantum computing, blockchain technology, and artificial intelligence. Her companies employ over 20,000 people worldwide, and her innovations have changed the very fabric of modern technology." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I could see my father finally looking up from his phone, his brow furrowed in confusion. "Please join me in recognizing Natalie Walker, founder and CEO of Walker Tech Enterprises, whose net worth exceeded $13.8 billion this morning after her company's latest breakthrough in quantum computing." The auditorium erupted in gasps and applause. I stood up, smoothing my graduation robe. Through the sea of faces, I found my family. Mom's program had slipped from her fingers. Benjamin's mouth hung open, his Tesla keys forgotten in his lap. Dad looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Miss Walker," the dean continued, "has also made history by becoming the largest private donor in Stanford's history, with her recent $2 billion contribution to our technology and research departments." More applause, more gasps. I made my way to the stage as photos of my achievements flashed on the giant screens. My companies, my innovations, my successes, all the things my family had never bothered to notice. "And now," the dean smiled, "Miss Walker would like to say a few words." I approached the podium, removing my graduation robe to reveal my Chanel suit. The audience fell silent. My hands didn't shake anymore. They hadn't in years when I spoke to crowds, but my heartbeat echoed in my ears as I spotted my family's shocked expressions. "Thank you, Dean Matthews," I began, my voice clear and steady. 4 years ago, I started my journey at Stanford with a dream and an algorithm. While everyone thought I was just studying, I was building. While some were buying cars, I paused, letting my eyes find Benjamin. I was creating the future. I could see reporters scribbling frantically, cameras flashing. The Wall Street Journal article would be going live any minute now. Today, Walker Tech Enterprises isn't just a company, it's a revolution. Our quantum computing breakthrough this morning didn't just make headlines, it changed what's possible. I paused, letting that sink in. And yes, I did all this while maintaining a perfect GPA. Mom was crying now, but for once they weren't tears of disappointment. Dad sat frozen, probably calculating how many Teslas you could buy with $13.8 billion. To those who think success has a single path, who measure worth by the car you drive or the law firm you work for, think bigger. Sometimes the biggest achievements happen quietly while everyone else is looking the other way. I pulled out my phone, displaying the latest Walker Tech stock price on the screens. The numbers made Benjamin's Tesla look like pocket change. And yes, Dad, I added, allowing myself a small smile. I did take the bus sometimes, not because I had to, but because while everyone was showing off their cars, I was busy building an empire. The applause was deafening. In the audience, I could see tech industry leaders, people who'd known my secret all along, nodding in approval. My executive team scattered throughout the crowd were grinning proudly. I'd invited them all weeks ago, wanting them to witness this moment when my two worlds finally collided. As I returned to my seat, my phone buzzed with a message from my assistant. "Your Bugatti is ready out front for the photos, Miss Walker." And the Wall Street Journal article just went live. Perfect timing. After the ceremony, I quickly texted my driver to bring the cars around, then walked to the front of the campus where I stood by my Bugatti while photographers captured the youngest billionaire graduate for their headlines. The car's crystal white finish gleamed in the California sun, making Benjamin's Tesla look almost ordinary in comparison. I watched my family approaching slowly, like they were walking through a dream. Mom's makeup was streaked with tears. Dad's usual confident stride had vanished. And Benjamin, well, he looked like someone had just told him Santa wasn't real. "Natalie," Mom's voice trembled. "How? When?" "For years," I said simply, handing my keys to the valet. "While you were all focused on Benjamin's law career, I built something bigger. It started with an algorithm I developed during freshman year that revolutionized data processing. Grammy believed in me when I showed her the prototype. That's why she invested her retirement savings as my seed funding." But you never said anything," Dad stammered, his eyes darting between me and the reporters. "All those times we talked about your future." "You mean all those times you talked about my lack of direction?" I corrected him. "You never asked what I was actually doing. You were too busy buying Teslas." Benjamin stepped forward, his new car keys clutched tightly in his hand. "This isn't possible. You're my little sister. You're a billionaire," I finished for him. "Chief executive officer of 5 companies, owner of the largest quantum computing platform in the world. Yes, I am. And I did it all while you were making fun of me for taking the bus." My assistant appeared with a tablet. "Miss Walker, Mr. Musk is on the line. He wants to discuss the satellite partnership." "Tell him I'll call back," I said, watching my father's eyes widen at the casual mention of Elon Musk. "I'm having a family moment." Mom burst into fresh tears. "Why didn't you tell us? We're your family." "Would you have believed me?" I asked quietly. "When I tried to tell you about my first company, you told me to focus on finding a husband. When I mentioned my tech projects, Dad suggested I get a real job like Benjamin." My phone buzzed. Another stock alert. Walker Tech had jumped another 12% since the graduation announcement. "I wanted to prove something," I continued, "not just to you, but to everyone who thinks success only looks one way. While you were all focused on appearances, I was focused on innovation." Dad stepped forward, his voice uncharacteristically humble. "Natalie, we were wrong." "I know," I smiled, "but that's not why I did this. I did it because I saw a future nobody else could see. The fact that it finally made you notice me, that's just a bonus." Benjamin was still staring at my Bugatti. "All those times I offered you rides." "I had a driver," I shrugged. "And this car, and that one." I pointed to the McLaren parked nearby. "And a few others, but watching you all think I couldn't afford basic transportation, that was educational." A group of tech executives approached, waiting to speak with me. The Wall Street Journal article had gone viral, and my phone wouldn't stop buzzing with congratulations and partnership offers. "I have meetings," I told my family, "but let's have dinner tonight. I'll send my jet to pick up Grammy from her retirement community in Florida. She's known about this all along. She was my first investor." "Grammy knew?" Mom gasped. "Of course she did. She actually asked what I was doing with my life instead of telling me what I should be doing." As I turned to leave, Dad caught my arm. "We were so wrong about you, so focused on the wrong things." "Yes, you were," I agreed. "But here's the thing about success, Dad. It doesn't need anyone's permission or approval. It just needs vision and determination." I handed him a business card, sleek black with just my name and CEO, Walker Tech Enterprises, in silver. "Tonight, 7 p.m. at my penthouse. The driver knows the way." "And Benjamin," I called over my shoulder, "you might want to park that Tesla around back. The security team needs the front spaces for the Forbes photo shoot." As I walked away, surrounded by executives and reporters, I heard Benjamin mutter, "I can't believe my little sister is a billionaire." I smiled, remembering all the times they dismissed me, underestimated me, ignored my potential. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's becoming so incredibly right that they can never see you the same way again. That evening, as my family sat in my penthouse, still processing the day's revelations, I raised my glass in a toast to taking the bus and building an empire while everyone else was showing off their cars. The view of Stanford from my windows was spectacular, but the view of my family's changed perspective, that was priceless. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles. Zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one. The pen hovered over the patent transfer documents, trembling slightly between my fingers as my father's words crashed around me like breaking glass. "Sign it now, Natalie. Your sister needs this more than you." My vision tunneled until all I could see was that signature line, the place where I was expected to surrender 4 years of work. The pristine MIT diploma in my lap, still warm from the graduation ceremony, now felt like a cruel joke as my family ambushed me in this upscale restaurant. My mother's hand rested possessively on my sister Rachel's shoulder, their identical expressions of entitled expectation burning into me. The restaurant's celebration sounds faded to a distant hum. I became hyper-aware of the weight of the pen, the slight texture of the expensive paper, the way my pulse throbbed in my temples as I carefully set the pen down beside the document. "No," I said, my voice quiet but unwavering. "My name is Natalie. I'm 22 and a software engineer with a focus on AI security systems. This is the story of how I turned my family's betrayal into the foundation of my success." My father's face transformed, the proud parent mask he'd worn for graduation photos melting into something harder, colder. "This isn't a request," he hissed, leaning forward to minimize the scene he was creating. "Your sister's startup failed, and she needs a fresh start. Your little coding projects can be her stepping stone." Little coding projects. The familiar dismissal landed like it always did, a paper cut I was expected to ignore. Those little projects had won the university's Innovation Award. They'd attracted attention from major tech companies. But in my family's hierarchy, I had always been the supporting character in Rachel's story. Rachel smirked, twirling her designer watch, undoubtedly financed by our parents' latest investment in her potential. "Come on, Nat, it's not like you're doing anything serious with them. I have actual business experience." Business experience? Right. Her failed fashion app that burned through $200,000 of our parents' money in 6 months. Meanwhile, I'd worked part-time jobs throughout college, taken out loans, and spent countless nights perfecting my AI security system. "Those patents are mine," I said, my voice stronger now. "I developed the AI system myself, spent 2 years perfecting it. I'm not signing anything." My father's reaction was immediate and devastating. He snatched up my diploma holder, his face flushing with anger. "You ungrateful little—" The sound of tearing paper cut through the restaurant's ambient noise as he ripped my diploma in half. "You think you can disobey me after everything we've done for you?" he demanded, oblivious to the stares from nearby diners. I remained still, 4 years at MIT having taught me more than just coding. It had taught me strategy. "Everything you've done for me?" I asked softly. "You mean the student loans I took out myself? The part-time jobs I worked while Rachel got unlimited credit cards? That everything?" "Don't you dare," my mother hissed, her manicured nails digging into Rachel's shoulder. "Your sister has vision, ambition. You just hide behind your computer all day. These patents would be wasted on you." I stood, smoothing my graduation gown with steady hands. "I think we're done here." "If you walk away now," my father threatened, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, "you're no longer part of this family." I looked at them. My father gripping my torn diploma, my mother's disapproving frown, Rachel's smug smile, and felt an unexpected sense of lightness. "You never saw me as part of this family anyway. I was just your backup plan for Rachel's failures." "How dare you?" Rachel shrieked, but I was already walking away. What they didn't know, what none of them had bothered to ask, was that I'd already met with Microsoft's acquisition team the previous day. My AI security system, the one they dismissed as a coding project, had caught their attention 6 months ago. The final meeting was scheduled for tomorrow morning. I pulled out my phone as I left the restaurant, dialing a familiar number. "Professor Martinez." Yes, everything went exactly as expected. They tried to take the patents. No, I didn't tell them about tomorrow's meeting. Yes, all the paperwork is ready. Professor Martinez had been my advisor for 3 years and had introduced me to Microsoft's acquisition team after seeing the potential in my system. I caught my reflection in a store window, still in my graduation gown but standing straighter than I had in years. Tomorrow, Microsoft would announce their $50 million acquisition of my AI security system. Tomorrow, my family would learn exactly what my little coding projects were worth. But tonight, I had a different celebration in mind. I walked several blocks to clear my head before heading to my apartment where my real support system waited. My best friend Danielle, my roommate Peter, and our study group had planned a small party. People who had actually seen me work through countless nights, debug endless code, and build something revolutionary. As I climbed the stairs to my apartment, my phone buzzed with texts from my family. "Dad, you're making a huge mistake." "Mom, think about your sister's future." "Rachel, you'll regret this. I would have made your stupid program actually successful." I silenced my phone without replying. They'd find out soon enough exactly how successful my program already was. Danielle opened the door before I could reach for my keys, taking one look at my face and pulling me into a hug. "They did exactly what you predicted, didn't they?" I nodded, finally letting myself smile. "Down to the diploma ripping." "Is everything ready for tomorrow?" "Press release drafted. Social media strategy in place." "And Peter's got the champagne on ice," she grinned. "Ready to shock the tech world, Miss Future Millionaire?" For the first time since the disastrous graduation dinner, I laughed. Tomorrow would change everything. But tonight, I was exactly where I belonged, surrounded by people who saw my worth long before any price tag was attached to it. The next morning, I sat in Microsoft's sleek conference room, my torn diploma tucked away in my bag like a battle scar. The acquisition team's lead, Sarah Matthews, reviewed the final paperwork, her expression professional but pleased. "Everything looks in order, Miss Wilson," she said, sliding the contracts across the polished table. $50 million with you retained as lead developer for the next 3 years. Are you ready to sign? I picked up the pen, thinking about how different this felt from last night's attempted coercion. Just one question. The press release goes out immediately after, correct? Sarah nodded. We've coordinated with major tech publications. Your AI security system is exactly what the market needs right now. This will be breaking news within the hour. I signed my name with steady hands, each stroke a declaration of independence from my family's expectations. As Sarah gathered the paperwork, my phone started buzzing. News traveled fast in the tech world, and someone had already leaked the acquisition. One of the junior PR staff had posted a congratulatory message on LinkedIn that was quickly picked up by tech bloggers. The first call was from Rachel. I declined it, watching as text messages flooded in. "Rachel, what the freak? $50 million? Rachel, You have to share this with family. Rachel, call me now. My mother's messages came next. Mom, we need to talk about this as a family. Mom, your father is very upset. Mom, you owe your sister a chance to be part of this. I turned off my phone as Sarah escorted me down the hall to the conference room where reporters were already waiting. Cameras flashed as I shook hands with Microsoft's CEO, my little coding project, now headline news. I delivered my prepared statement flawlessly, describing how my AI system would revolutionize cybersecurity for small businesses. By afternoon, my face was on every tech news website. MIT graduates, AI innovation acquired for $50 million. Young female developer revolutionizes security tech, Microsoft's newest rising star. As the press conference concluded, I gathered my things and headed outside where Danielle met me, holding up her tablet with the headlines. You're trending on Twitter, she grinned, and guess who's been trying to reach me all morning? Let me guess. My family? Your sister called 6 times. She tried to convince me she was your business partner and needed urgent access to your contracts. I shook my head, unsurprised. And your parents? Your dad left a voicemail saying there must be some mistake, that you couldn't have done this alone. He wants to review the deal with his lawyers. We headed to my apartment where Peter had set up an impromptu celebration. As we walked in, my phone rang again, this time from an unexpected number. Grandma. Natalie, darling, my grandmother's warm voice filled the line. I just saw the news. I always knew you were brilliant, even when your parents couldn't see it. She had been following tech news sites since I told her about the pending acquisition last month, knowing how important this day would be for me. Tears pricked my eyes. Grandma had been the only family member who supported my interest in coding, secretly helping me buy my first computer when I was 12. Thanks, Grandma. That means a lot. Your grandfather would be so proud. He always said you had his inventor's spirit. She paused. Your parents are here, raising quite a fuss. They're insisting you tricked Microsoft somehow. I sighed. Of course they are. Don't worry about them, dear. I set them straight. Told them how I've watched you work on this for years while they were busy throwing money at Rachel's schemes. Her voice hardened slightly. They're just realizing what they've lost. After talking with Grandma, I finally checked my messages. Among the congratulations from classmates and professors was an email from my father's lawyer demanding a family meeting to discuss the distribution of assets. Danielle read the email over my shoulder and snorted. They really don't get it, do they? They think they can still control you. They never saw me, I said, closing my laptop. They were so busy trying to make Rachel successful that they missed what was right in front of them. Peter raised his glass. To their massive oversight and your incredible success. As we celebrated, another email came through, this time from a major tech magazine wanting to do a cover story. The subject line read, From MIT to Microsoft, the hidden story of tech's newest millionaire. I smiled, thinking about all the young girls who might read that story, all the quiet students working on their own projects while being overlooked by their families. Maybe my story would help them stand their ground, too. Danielle squeezed my shoulder. Ready to tell your story to the world? I nodded, opening my laptop to reply to the magazine. It was time to step into the spotlight on my own terms, no longer hidden in my sister's shadow. The party continued around me as I typed, my friends' laughter drowning out the constant buzzing of my family's calls. Tomorrow, I would deal with their demands and accusations. Tonight, I celebrated with the people who had believed in me all along. A month after the acquisition, I sat in my grandmother's sunlit study as the magazine interview was scheduled, a deliberate choice that sent a clear message to my family. As the photographers set up, surrounded by photos of my early coding competitions and science fair wins, I heard familiar voices in the driveway. They're here, Grandma announced, peering through the curtains, right on schedule. My parents and Rachel stormed up the path exactly as I'd predicted. I'd known they would come after I deliberately mentioned the interview location when declining my father's latest demand for a meeting. Their predictable reactions were now working in my favor. The magazine journalist Vivian raised an eyebrow. Are they part of the interview? They're about to be, I smiled. Keep recording. The door burst open, my father leading the charge. This ends now, Natalie. You're making a mockery of this family. Please do explain how my success mocks our family, I replied calmly, gesturing to Vivian. I'm sure the readers would love to hear your perspective. They froze, finally noticing the cameras and recording equipment. Rachel's face flushed as she recognized the magazine's logo on Vivian's notebook. You planned this, my mother accused, her voice shaking. You deliberately set us up. No, Mom, I'm just done hiding. You wanted to force me to sign over my patents. Let's talk about that. You ripped up my diploma. Let's discuss why. I turned to Vivian. My family has an interesting view on success. They believe it only counts if it comes from their chosen child. Natalie, stop this immediately, my father demanded, but Grandma stepped between us. No, William, you stop. I've watched you dismiss Natalie's achievements for years. You threw money at Rachel's failed ventures while Natalie worked part-time jobs to fund her research. Now you want to claim her success? Not happening. Rachel sneered, but I caught the panic in her eyes. You're just jealous because I was supposed to be the successful one. You stole my chance. Your chance? I laughed. You mean like your fashion app that lost $200,000? Or your revolutionary social media platform that never launched? Tell me, Rachel, what exactly did I steal from you? Vivian was scribbling furiously, her recorder catching every word. My father noticed and changed tactics. Sweetheart, we only want what's best for the family. Surely we can discuss this privately. Like how you privately tried to force me to sign away my patents. I pulled out my torn diploma. Or how privately you destroyed this. The photographer snapped photos as I held up the ripped certificate. Perfect. The visual would make an excellent addition to the article. Miss Wilson, Vivian interjected, would you say your family's attitude motivated your success? I considered the question, looking at their faces. My father's controlled anger, my mother's embarrassment, Rachel's barely concealed jealousy. Actually, yes. Every time they dismissed my work as little coding projects, it pushed me to work harder. Every time they threw money at Rachel's ideas while I took out loans, it taught me financial responsibility. They showed me exactly what I didn't want to become. You ungrateful, Rachel started, but Grandma cut her off. I think you've all said enough. Natalie has an interview to finish, unless you'd like to explain to the readers why you tried to steal her patents. They left as abruptly as they'd arrived, my father practically dragging Rachel, who was still shouting about family loyalty. Once they were gone, Vivian turned to me. That was intense. Are you okay? I smiled, genuinely at peace. Better than okay. That was the last tie I needed to cut. The article came out a month later. Tech Rising Star, The Truth Behind the Success, became the magazine's most shared story. My torn diploma, carefully pieced together and framed alongside my Microsoft contract, made a powerful image. The responses flooded in, emails from young developers sharing similar stories, messages from parents acknowledging their own biases, invitations to speak at tech conferences about overcoming family expectations. Rachel tried to launch a rival tech company, but without my parents' funding, they'd finally learned their lesson about throwing good money after bad. It fizzled within weeks. After her company failed, Rachel made a final attempt to reconcile by email, which I politely but firmly declined, making it clear our relationship was permanently over. My parents made several attempts at reconciliation, all centered around family unity and sharing success. I declined each one. Our last conversation, 6 months after the acquisition, ended with me clearly stating that I had no interest in rebuilding our relationship after years of being devalued. Since then, we've had no contact, and I've made peace with that decision. Instead, I focused on building something meaningful. I started a scholarship fund for overlooked tech students named after my grandmother. Microsoft's faith in my AI system proved well-founded. Within 6 months, it was protecting thousands of small businesses from cyber attacks. 1 year after the acquisition, I sat in my new office looking at the framed magazine cover on my wall. My phone buzzed with a text from Danielle. Your sister's giving interviews about being your inspiration. Want me to send the receipts? I laughed, typing back. Let her talk. Success speaks for itself. My grandmother's words from the magazine article had become my mantra. Success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Looking out my office window at the Seattle skyline, I felt nothing but gratitude for every dismissive comment, every undermining action, every attempt to hold me back. They had all become steps on my ladder to success. My little coding project was now an industry standard. My name was respected in tech circles, and my story was inspiring others to stand their ground. Sometimes the best revenge isn't confrontation. It's simply succeeding beyond anyone's expectations, especially your own. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.